We are at the wonderful Ronald McDonald house, probably one of my favorite places to visit or to see when I'm in Vancouver, because it both puts a smile on my face to see what goes on here and all the great people, but what it does. One of the major, or what am I saying? What we do with the Dream Rally. So the money we raise, the Dream Rally, is for Ronald McDonald House, something Matt and I discussed and came up with years ago, and that's been unreal what the August Family Foundation has done, I believe, and that whole circle of friends. But for those that don't know, so this is Richard Pass, the CEO of Ronald McDonald House, and BC and Yukon.
BC and Yukon, yeah.
And I thought, who better than yourself to give us a quick rundown of what's going on with the house, how many people a year are helped by this, and literally a message I want to be able to send out later to the people that have been supporters that have never had a chance to come down. Like as anyone I can bring down to show them, because it has an immediate impact. When you see the families, you see the kids, where the money's going, the buy-in, it just has so much more impact. And we've had so many great people that are supporters already, and we just haven't been able to get them here. So I thought, okay, so we'll bring the message back to them and let them know what's So, but just fire away, very informal.
That's great. Well, thank you, Brent. So Ronald McDonald House is a home away from home where families that don't have a place to stay and they need medical treatment at BC Children's Hospital, the sick child needs that medical treatment, they can stay here, and they can stay for as long as they want. And the concept is to keep the whole family together as much as possible. Now, sometimes, of course, a mom or a dad has to stay and keep the business going, but it is a place where the whole family stays close and stays together. And then the child can go back and forth for treatment to the hospital, and they can have the support of the staff and volunteers at Ronald McDonald House, and also from the other families. So the key really then becomes, it's a location where arms are pretty much wrapped around you with support and caring, and you know that you're not the only one in it, in that same kind of situation. And it's such a unique environment because families, when they're newly diagnosed, will come in and they really are deer in the headlights because the worst possible thing has happened. Their child is seriously ill, and they don't know anyone here. They don't know what's going to happen. And when they come into one of the kitchens, it's hi, what's your name? Other families will interact, and oh yeah, what's your child? What's the illness? Oh yeah, and what drugs are they on? And how long? And we've been here for these many days. And all of a sudden, there's just a community of support. So it's really incredible, and that's a long sentence, but
I can't even. So to that, my experience with Lindsay and Clayton Wainwright, relatives, and my nephew Isaiah was in here. This was last year, but exactly when he was diagnosed, and it was devastating to the family. And they don't even know what to do, where to turn, and they came down terrified. And the people they met. So how crazy is it now? This is over a year and a half ago. So I'm back in here just today. And I run into a family. I go to get a coffee, my McDonald's coffee, which is good. I always have one when I'm here because it is good. And McDonald's, hey, geez, so speaking of which, Kelowna people, as we speak, are here. That Aiden, that young man, was down here. He's probably here for a checkup. This is one of my son's friends. How crazy is that? But the same. So we got the news, but it happened so fast that they were flown down with Isaiah. Children's Hospital, for those that don't know, is right there. So they literally just walk back and forth. They were devastated and thought their world was coming to an end. And they came here, and the families they met and the staff here are amazing. So as we're sitting here and the staff's going by, and everyone's so welcoming, but they were so different when we came down to see them finally after about a week had gone by or something. We were able to come see them, and they went from being that not even know what to do in their world to being kind of appeased. It was terrifying still, but they suddenly were they felt so supported, I guess. It was mind-boggling that they were calm and they were good. I was more worried about them as Kaylee, everyone's all worried about them. And they're like, no, it's amazing. We met a family with little Alice, and they're going through the exact same thing, and we share a kitchen. And for those you'll see when we do a quick tour, the family kitchens, the rest of it. So just now I meet a gentleman and his daughter from Vanderhoof. So I grew up in Houston, BC. We all know the same people. I walk up, I don't know how we start talking, and he's whatever, and I'd said, my nephew was in here last year, you probably wouldn't have met them, but the Wainwrights, and oh no, we know Lindsay and Clayton well. We've already done an 8-month stint. So from Vanderhoof, and they're living down here with the family. And yeah, done this incredible sprint. They know them. Actually funny because they knew who I was from Prince George and the rest of it. And that's what they'd said, like just to see how comfortable they were here. And the little girl going through treatment this is like her home. So she's running around, everything's good. And then like us, the other one that was kind of hard to fathom, I didn't realize, was Lindsay and Clayton being able to have family like us come see them. They were in the different rooms here, but having their own room, their own home away from home, and so comfortable. And there's so many things going on to support the kids, like to keep them entertained and keep their thought and keep life as normal as possible. I didn't know any of that before. So I'd been a supporter years ago of Ronald just because of what it was. It's children, to be honest, it was kids. Ronald McDonald House, I loved it. And so I was a supporter before, just like Children's Hospital. And then how crazy is it years later, you actually get here and experience it. And it's that much more. It's way more than I ever,
Well, when we built it, you know, this particular house serves 73 families at a time, and probably over 2,000 families a year. And one of the questions we get regularly asked is, you know, what's the average stay? And if you actually took the average, it's probably around 17, 18 days. But that depends on the diagnoses. And so when we built the house, we really did build it in the way that we wanted to have it be a house of joy, as well as that support, and with activities, the fitness room for the adults, the games room for kids, different ages rooms.
Seeing the Lego room, there's a crafts room, there's like all these things, the games room for the older kids, all these things. And there's Emma and Maya, one day I'm here visiting, and they're going down for piano lessons. And they had just done baking of cookies. Like, these kids love their time here, which would have normally been devastating if they had to be left at home or were away. And it would have been terrible, as we know, for Isaiah, like the sick child, to not have their family around is devastating effects. So Matt and I were just here at Christmas watching all the people come in. We decorated the trees. And what's so crazy, even me not having been in here with a child other than my nephew, already the families that I see from coming in and out of here, and I see them and they're saying hi, and I'm talking to them from the kitchen. It's bizarre that I've met people from all over the province here with their child, and I get to know. I'm only here how often, right? You even get to know, how are you doing? Oh, how's your daughter doing? Or how's your son? Like, what a welcoming, environment. It couldn't be better. I'm so impressed.
No, so there's 368 Ronald McDonald houses around the world. And each one is a locally owned and operated not-for-profit that leases the name Ronald McDonald House from the corporate charity. And so every house then is an independent charity, and like all other charities in BC, pounding the pavement for dollars to provide the service to their mission. And so with McDonald's, they have been the partners for the whole time since 1973, when Ronald McDonald House was invented. And so that's great, because we get, in McHappy Day, dollars come to the houses. 10 cents in Canada of every Happy Meal goes into the corporate charity, and then the 15 houses across Canada then get money each year to go towards their operating costs. So that helps reduce our cost. But it leaves, depending on the year, about 80% of the money needing to be raised, and in our case, about $4.5 million annually, to provide the services and home for the families. And so it's people like you, frankly, you and Matt, and the other donors, and cookie sales from the kids. It's just this huge umbrella of support that we need and we get, thankfully. But every year, it's, as soon as that year ends, okay, we got to start again, and we've got to raise these funds, because the families keep coming, and we're full every day. With turnover, some days a family thinks they're going to go home and then can't, and so we've got to juggle. And then sometimes they do get to go quickly, and so you've got a couple of days. But generally speaking, we're full every day. And we're right now doing a feasibility study with the hospital again to see if we could, what would we really build to serve the need. And it's definitely more than the 73 we've got, because we were juggling like crazy to try to get people in all the time. So anyway, but your question was funding, and so the funding is absolutely a key piece, because all the services that we provide, we always want to get better and provide more. And that comes from the generosity of people like yourself and others that really do bring dollars to the charity.
So one of the things that I would be known as when it comes to business, and the rest is being very blunt. And that's my thing. I've been very clear with people, so the charities that I support and why. And I've always said to all my other business owner friends, to be honest, it's no different than the sports I do or my children, is I give money to charities. And typically it's been children's charity, the children's wing I did, the rest of it has to do with life and death and helping like in the worst time of their lives and the lowest, where the greatest need is.
Yeah.
So my point to all business owners, and I always say to them, I doesn't matter if you were a big soccer player as a kid or as a growing up playing hockey or soccer, so you put all this money into a sport. And I've always said, to me, sports are such a secondary thing. To be honest, if you like to have your company decide to give, you're going to give something, I always said it's got to be one of these charities, children's charity, life or death stuff, not a hockey team or not this. So I know those places, to me, they need funding, but to me that's always should be the parents, the kids themselves should be. I make the kids in these things, and how I met Steve Reeves, the helicopter partner, was making the hockey team kids go out, collect. I had to get a message delivered. So instead of paying 50 cents to Canada Post, I paid these kids to give thousands of these out, and they gave them out, but I made them collect food for Salvation Army at the same time to do the right thing.
Teaching philanthropy.
Teaching philanthropy, but saying to these kids they needed money to travel, to go on their hockey team, to go somewhere. I said, I would never ask you. I race cars, alcohol dragsters at the time, and I'll never forget saying to the parents and the children that we're here to see Mr. Marshall, we'd like $5,000 to go on this hockey trip. And I said, that would be similar to me if I was a golfer, saying I'd like to go play whatever golf links down in Palm Springs, and coming to your house and saying, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, would you give me, $2,000? Because I said it's insulting that you'd actually come asking for it. So I made the kids go out and do this, and it just turned out to be one of the biggest fundraisers for the Salvation Army. But I say to people as well, like, no, sports. So back to my alcohol thing, I was like, I would never in a million years say to you, my car burns about $70 worth of fuel in 6 seconds. And I chose to do that sport. And I have to figure out how to fund that myself, whether it's working harder, an extra job. So always when they come knock on my door, I say it, but it has to be about these things. So you better have to do with children, saving people, cancer, life or death. I do not support lacrosse. I do not do any of that shit. Yeah. I have zero interest in that. You teach your kid to collect bottles like I had to or whatever, to make money to pay for your sport. So when I try to stress that, because I run into business owners, and I try to say, you need to do this. You have to pick this charity, make it, your business will grow, you won't even notice it, and you're doing the right thing. And a lot of them, I already do, I give money to something. But let me see, what are you giving your money to? You sponsor the boards at the hockey rink for the already affluent kids, or you're sponsoring this and this. That's not helping society, right? That's helping an individual, or it's helping a sport. So I'm very blunt about it, but I think that message has got to be out there, because that's never changed for me, and it's been more effective. And then people, of course, like the August family, Brian, Irene, Matt, Michelle, they get it. And it's so cool, they're the same. They're like, we want to. I mean, we all like to be able to do all of that stuff, but if you're going to do one thing, it should really impact lives, not. Yeah. So
I think that's one of the things really about Ronald McDonald House that's so engaging for donors, is that it's a sick child, and so it's not one diagnosis. It's any sickness, and so if you need help, if you need support, and you have to have treatment, then we're here for you.
No, and it's amazing, and that's what we need people to see. Part of this video as part of this documentary, but the video in particular, to get out to me, to be able to share with people and business owners, saying, if they could see it, if they could come in and see these kids at this point, what the family's going through and the kids, it totally changes your mind.
That's one of the things that we did with the design of the house. When you walk in, as you know, you walk into the grand living room, and we wanted to build it in that fashion, because I can talk, you can talk, but we can, if we bring someone to the house and we can walk through and you see the engagement of the families and the joy, even in the darkest of their times, and the hope that they're living and experiencing, people then really understand what Ronald McDonald House does, and the support that it provides as an organization, but that all the people and all individuals, volunteers, it is really a collective.
Oh, I love it when I get a chance to bring people by, and I don't know how many times you actually see them well up, like the tears, and they see these kids, and they realize, especially if they have children themselves, but you see them just suddenly like, oh my God, I never thought of this, because if it hasn't hit you,
Yeah,
you would
you
never
don't know it.
No,
Yeah,
we're
you
all
don't
kind
know
of
it unless you
oblivious
experience
unless
it.
you've
That's
experienced
right.
it.
Yeah.
So when you do, and you chance to even just stop in and witness it. So
Yeah. Yeah.
can't thank you folks enough for what you do.
Well, thank you
It's
for
a
what
lot of
you do and
people.
how you
A lot of
support all
people.
the families, because you know it's easy to sit in my chair as CEO and say, you know, thank you for supporting Ronald McDonald House, but that's not what you're doing. You know, the donors are supporting the families that are staying here. That's where the dollars go, and that's what matters. So thank you.
Oh, you're wrong. I'm proud to be part of it. It's it's just so neat. And you walk in and welcome, and you every time I'm in, you actually get to physically talk to the families that are here being impacted, and you just feel so good about it, right? So